As I mentioned earlier in the week, we spoke to Oliver Hartwich, didn't we? The budget is tomorrow. And actually a pretty good piece in the Post this morning by Luke Malpass says it will probably usher in a new era of restraint, of restricted government spending. We are going to get some tax cuts for God knows why, but restraint in government spending. And maybe this is really the end of the party. This is clearing away the empties after COVID and all that money handed out to keep people just functional, but the good times have stopped and the free ride has stopped. Certainly it would seem to me that we're in very tough economic times, and often I would say that recessions or technical recessions are something that concern economists. It feels to me, as individuals, we are feeling the recession we are in, and certainly businesses are. And I mentioned Monday, before ahead of the interview with Oliver, that the Auckland Business Chamber had said some stuff about confidence in the biggest city in the country, really one of the big drivers of our economy. So I thought we might have a larger discussion on that, and we are joined now by the CEO of Auckland Business Chamber, a name not unfamiliar to you guys, Simon Bridges, joins us by phone now. Simon, good morning. Welcome to the platform. Good to have you with us.
Hey, morning, Sean. Good to talk to you.
All right, but not really good times, not great times.
No.
Your comments seem to suggest that Auckland, and it's so important to the rest of the economy and the mood of the country, businesses in Auckland really are in the middle of a very cold winter.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, it's our second, state the obvious quarterly survey. So we did one at the start of the year. This is the next one. I mean, the results actually are staggeringly similar. And, really, I mean, one way to characterise it's gone from really bad to really bad, right? And I think what that shows is you've just got business in a new normal. I think, if you think about say an SME, there's a couple of things there, that they've got a lot of costs they didn't have. So, interest rates are certainly higher than they've been, inflation certainly higher than they've been. So that's just money in that person's pocket. In the end, the SMEs are households in their pocket that they don't have anymore because it's going on servicing that additional cost. I think that's a big explanation what's going on. I think the other thing that's true, Sean, is, when you think about those SMEs, they voted for change. I'm not overly politicising SMEs. I think they're not particularly political bunch, actually, but I think this time they certainly voted for change. And there was probably an unrealistic expectation that they were going to get nirvana, right? Everything was going to be better.
Change the government, problem solved, what you want back. Yeah.
Correct. And so I think what these surveys say, it kind of across the board is that they realise that's not true. And so the numbers around confidence and so on are, as I say, pretty bad.
And these are self-fulfilling prophecies, Simon. Business confidence in itself affects business confidence, right?
Correct. And we are at a level something of a vicious cycle, because you think about that cost. So the business has got less money because, of interest rate inflation. As I say, they're actually, Mr. and Mrs. Businessman and woman are just households. They are going out, or they're not going out. They're spending less in shops. They're spending less at restaurants. They're paying their bills later. And so that as you say, that circle keeps going in a relatively worse way.
And look, I was talking to someone last night. I was out at the theatre in Wellington last night, and they said, well, in the next 10 years, rates in Wellington, no matter what we do with our long-term plan tomorrow, will go up something like are predicted to rise in 10 years by 247%. Now, every dollar spent on rates by a ratepayer in a city like Wellington or Auckland, and I've got to say Wayne Brown's done a not bad job there, is money that doesn't get spent at a local restaurant or a coffee business or a local business. It is simply a drag on a regional economy when you take it out of there in rates.
And another example of that, I think it's first thing this morning, I saw Tower Insurance confirmed, I think I'm right to say, for the year that they've put up, their insurance up 20%. Well, if they are, I'm sure that's the picture across insurance companies, right? So again, not being overly critical of them, but that's just money sucked out that the punter doesn't have for all that disposable stuff that makes an economy feel good and gives you in the end an economy like ours some growth.
Well, how do we get out of this? Can tomorrow's budget be a circuit breaker or not? Because it doesn't feel like it's going to be.
I think that's probably right. I think there is some good news, right? I think first, if you just take the SME again, if you've survived so far, you can keep going. Okay. I do think there's light. So, I know we've got to take the good news as we can. I think what's also true, I think there is some light at the end of the horizon, end of this year, or certainly first half of next year, and I think that will come from the Reserve Bank moving things down. I think to your point around confidence, a lot of this is just sentiment, right? It's where and so the RBNZ coming back a bit at some point in the next year or so. At that point, I just have a feeling that is going to be a trigger. I think the other thing, though, and this is to your point around the budget, is I think what we need, but I think what we will see, if not in budget by the end of the year, is we need real pro-business policy momentum, right? So I heard you just before I got on. I understand the case for restraint. I agree with it. Like you, I think we was hearing, we agree with that. The last guys, there's a general feeling they spent too much, and we didn't get much for it. But just because there's fiscal restraint, that is not a rationale for policy restraint, if I can put it that way, right? I mean, policy is free. And, I think it was Lord Rutherford who said, we haven't got any money, so we have to think. So I'm looking for in the budget, and if they don't do it in the budget, I'm certainly looking for this year some sizzle around policy. Is that overseas investment law reform? Is it floating an SOE? Is it...
Well, what about, let's take an advantage where the government's being criticised. Let's drill, baby, drill. Let's use our natural resources to the level of Australia, who make 14% of their GDP off natural resources. We're nowhere near that. Surely that's, the fast track policy is something that might give the economy a kickstart.
Correct. The fast track, I think that's where the government can up its game is because